But let me ask you this. Would you take, in fairness, would you feel comfortable taking your children, if you had small children, to a Dallas Cowboys game? Cheerleaders are right there in front of you, and your kids are going to see them perform in the way they do and dress in the way they do and move in the way they do and so forth. Would you be comfortable with that?
I might not sit on the 2-yard line, but
would you be comfortable with your children seeing that performance?
Probably not, no.
Well, I think, so that's, again, I'm trying to be thoughtful on this thing. And so I think that's the point Mr. Turner's making, is that you're essentially saying you are now starting to compare Dallas Cowboy cheerleader performances with drag show performances that you're not.
Well, but
I don't think should be legal.
But I'm not. I mean, it comes down to the difference between what I feel, what I'm comfortable with, and what the bill does, and what legally it's accomplishing. So there are two different things that we're talking about here. There are some folks that wouldn't go to, they wouldn't watch R-rated movies. They wouldn't go to Dallas Cowboy games at all. Yeah, but that doesn't mean that's what the bill is covering.
But the difference is, I think that if they wanted to take their children to those, under your line of thinking, that would be illegal. Is that right?
Could you say that again?
Well,
I'm sorry.
You want to make it, I think this is right, and I'm sorry I don't have I know Mr. Shaheen showed it to me on the floor last night, but I don't have it here. My fault. But I think we're trying to make it illegal, right, for a child, let's say a 9-year-old, to go to a drag show, and the drag show is, quote, sexually in nature or whatever, right?
Right, correct, yes, sir. I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice.
But for that same reason, you're telling me you would not want to be on the second row with your children in a Dallas Cowboys game if the cheerleaders are right there.
Right, with my own personal values, yes.
And I'm assuming that you don't because you think it's too sexual in nature, is that right?
Yes, sir.
So that's Mr. Turner's point, that the problem or concern, if you will, with this kind of law is all of a sudden, if you did decide to take your kids to a Dallas Cowboy, I mean, we got to be careful because that might be illegal. It could be viewed as illegal.
I understand where you're coming from, and I appreciate that.
I'm just trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I just think that there's a difference between what some people might, what some people might approach that as, and what the bill is accomplishing. And if we're sticking with the definition of prurient interest focuses more on, excessive, hardcore things, not this kind of thing.
So then, just one more time, then I'll move on. Then you would be okay taking your kids to a drag show with 3 performers performing like the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders? Or do you think that's prurient interest?
I would not be okay taking my kids to a drag show, period.
Okay, well then that sounds to me like a bias against drag shows, period. And that's not what, I don't want to have a bias towards something, period. But it sounds like maybe you do.
No, sir.
You don't like drag shows, period.
No, sir. It's the entire sexual context of a drag show, but.
So you're comfortable taking your kids to a drag show as long as it's not sexual in nature? Is that right?
Fair point. No, I wouldn't take my kids to a drag show.
So that you don't like drag shows, period, even if they're not sexual in nature?
Well, I've never seen a drag show that's not sexual in nature.
So you have seen drag shows?
I've seen them in various places online. I've never been personally to one.
Okay, I'm going to leave it alone. You go watch drag shows online?
Thank you for that, sir. No, sir.
All right, anything else?
You're an adult. It's okay.
All right, thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.